So anyone who sees this on the recording, you'll know that here in a couple minutes, we're going to have David and Paige sharing some brilliant things with us about masculine versus feminine energy. And I love that you guys are wearing blue and pink. This is like too perfect. For anyone who jumps into the VIP portal and sees, I did a private interview with them. We put on the board, we put David and Paige, and we did it in blue and pink. And so it's fun because they're talking about masculine versus feminine energy. So we will get started here in approximately 2 minutes. So that way we know that there's going to be people who are fashionably late. That's just what always happens. And we want to make sure that we start right on time though.
Sounds great.
I am excited about this one. This is one of the few that I saw in the lineup that I was just like, tell me more.
Amazing.
We will, Drake.
I'm glad you're here.
You have one of my favorite names, Drake.
Thank you. It was a bit odd growing up with because nobody knew it. I mean, I just learned to answer to Drew, Gary, Greg,
Derek.
And then Derek. Then the rapper became famous and
yep.
All of a sudden everyone knew it. But I used to have to say Drake, D-R-A-K-E. And then the rapper became famous and people started going, did you just spell Drake for me? My bad.
Good story. Well, we didn't plan the blue and pink. Well, I don't know if you planned. You got dressed after me, babe, so I don't know.
I did not.
Ooh, even more intriguing.
Connectivity.
Natural masculine feminine alignment.
That's right. That's right.
I'm going to do that with you.
Good breath.
Oops.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to turn down the music. Or just turn it off. We'll just turn it off completely. There we go. Okay. So let me pop this open because I want to make sure I get all of this right and do you guys justice. We have, there it is. Okay. So just on a side note, I really, really, really love the intro. And I love the way that you guys spotlight each other. So I'm so excited. You guys are going to love the dynamic between David and Paige. Every time that I've heard them speak and I've been a part of their different sessions that they've had, they just feed off of each other and their energy is so inspiring. So David Lee is an expert teacher, speaker, coach, and writer in the areas of trauma healing, polarity, and relationships. Through David and Paige's trauma-informed polarity coaching practice, Daring Deeply, David and his partner in business, life, and love, Paige Stewart, bring a unique understanding and awareness to effective and efficient trauma healing. To heal your trauma, you must love your trauma. David's unique speaking style of wit and wisdom delivers entertainment, information, inspiration, and a conviction to his audiences to authentically heal and grow and transform. And something that they shared with me yesterday is that Paige has launched this entire new side for the feminine energy. And so I so hope that they're prepared to share a little bit more about that here at the end.
Well,
Absolutely.
We'll rub the magic lamp and see if that hope can come true. Certainly will. So is that our launching point, Sarah?
Yes. You guys, I'm gonna hand it over to you guys.
Okay. All right.
And let's go.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you, Sierra, on behalf of Paige, and she can certainly speak for herself. Thank you for inviting us. And we're super excited to talk about, we're going to dip a little bit into some trauma healing, but we're super excited about talking about polarity. And I'm going to share my screen, by the way. Can I do that? Will you unlock, Sierra Lueck?
Is it giving you the option to?
No.
Okay, give me just 1 second.
Surely. So what we're going to talk about, as we're doing that, we're going to talk about masculine and feminine energy, polarity. So those of you that are here live with us, and by the way, this is what we always say on our sessions over Zoom. We want to see, are we good? Okay, thank you, Sierra. We would love to see everyone's face. So that's how we connect energetically. And so if you have the opportunity to turn on your camera, we would love to see you. Yes, I love it, love it, love it, love it. Unless you're driving, which I always say, please don't zoom and drive. All right, please don't zoom and drive. Although I've seen that happen many a time. So again, I am David Lee. That is Paige Stewart in the pink. I'm in the blue. It was not planned to be that way. But and by the way, just on the jump here, ladies and gentlemen, just to know a little bit about masculine and feminine energy has nothing to do with gender. Okay? Everyone possesses, and we're going to talk about this in just a moment, but everyone possesses both masculine and feminine energy within them. So we're going to talk a little bit out of the woo today, a little bit of woo. So sit back, enjoy, and you're thinking, woo, what does woo have to do with business? Ah, it does. It has everything to do with business. And so, and thank you again, Sierra, for inviting us to find this intersection between business and woo. But masculine and feminine polarity is, from our perspective, essential in enlivening your business to levels that you perhaps have never seen before. So if that's not a tease, I don't know what is. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. There's the screen I want to share. So hang tight with me here. So let me know. Everybody see my screen? Cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It
Good.
is
Thank you,
empty.
Paige.
It's
Appreciate it.
empty right now.
It is empty. Yes.
Okay.
We're just going to stare at the blue screen and is what we're going to do. So here's our intro slide. So this particular session that Sierra has invited us to dive into is called Masculine and Feminine Energy in the Workplace. Led by us, there's our picture. We're co-founders, co-owners of Daring Deeply LLC, a coaching practice. We are trauma-informed polarity coaches specializing in relationship healing, growth, and transformation. So that's a little bit more about us. So let's dive right in and talk about masculine, feminine energy equals polarity. So when I use those terms, when Paige uses those terms interchangeably, that's what we're talking about. So in order for us to dive in, there may be folks on the call live here now or watching later on the replay, on the recording, thinking, wait a minute, I want to get an understanding. I want to receive an understanding of truly what polarity means. This may be a brand new concept to you. So we're going to start really at the beginning. So this is what we understand to be the law of polarity. And I know you're all grown people, but I'm going to read from the screen. It says the law of polarity is the principle that everything has two poles, good and evil, love and hate, attraction and disconnection, masculine and feminine. Again, energy, not relating to gender. Important. The north and south poles, the negative and positive terminals on a battery or magnet. Everything in the universe has an opposite. Everything is dual. Okay. Got it. Thumbs up for those of us that I can see. Yes. Good. So far. Okay. All right. Oh, and by the way, we love to see comments. So if you have questions, Paige and I will be monitoring that. I'm sure Sierra may be doing that as well. So if there's questions, we will have some time. We've built in some time here toward the end to have some Q&A time. So either keep those questions, write them down, or put them in the chat, and we'll make sure and monitor those. So this is what's important. I've already alluded to this. Every soul possesses both masculine and feminine energy, and every soul tends to be more aligned to one core energy over the other. Okay, which parenthetically, and we're going to dive into this in just a moment. Boy, are we going to bring the personal into the professional in just a moment. So hang on tight, friends. Okay. Parenthetically, it says this at the bottom of the slide. This leads to the attraction of a romantic partner who holds the opposing core energy. Okay. So again, this has nothing to do with sexual orientation. It has nothing to do with gender. Okay. But what we have found is when a romantic partnership, and we're going to blend this into the professional scene, the workspace in just a little bit, there is, in order for polarity to be realized, and a deep attraction, an attraction meaning more than sexual connectivity. Okay, that's part of it. Okay, but a deep attraction, and for a relationship to flourish, to be grounded in its full alignment, there must be opposing core energy, masculine and feminine energy. Okay. So now that we have a little bit of understanding, okay, I'm going to invite those of you that are here live. We're going to go into a little bit of an activity, not a little bit, we're going to go into an activity. I'm going to have you here live, friends, identify what your core energy is. Now, you may be sitting there thinking right now, I already know what it is. I'm more masculine than I am feminine, or I'm more feminine than I am masculine. That's fantastic. And so you may know that. And I would invite you to be curious before critical, especially of our own self. to say, there may be something I have here that I haven't recognized before about my core energy, right? So masculine or feminine. Now, again, we have both masculine and feminine energy. Everyone does. Every soul does. But we tend to lean. We tend to ground. It tends to feel more like home, as Paige Stewart often says. It tends to feel more at home in one particular core energy than the other, right? So here's the little activity. I'm going to ask this question of all of you, those that are here live. I invite you to look at the list on the screen. You could write these down if you have a journal in front of you, if you have pen and paper in front of you. That's always an important part when dealing with David and Paige, by the way. Sierra knows this. She's like, oh my gosh, yes, I always have something to write. Yeah, she's doing it right now. So, what do you prefer your partner to be? Okay. What do you prefer your partner? You're thinking in terms of your partner, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, not you, your partner. Okay, so turn in that. If you don't have a partner, okay, potential future partner, or maybe a former partner. Okay, well, who do you prefer your partner to be? On the left, giver, planner, speaker, leader. And what you're going to do is you're going to circle. You're going to circle or check mark or make a note. Okay. Do you prefer your partner to be a giver, speaker, leader, logical, driven, measured? Or do you prefer your partner, depending on where you're coming from, you prefer your partner to be more receptive, more spontaneous, a better listener, more supportive, emotional, flexible, open, creative? Okay. So take a few moments. And those of you that may be clued into masculine and feminine energy, you may be seeing what's going on and what these two lists mean. I'm going to pause a second and let my amazing partner, Paige, jump in if you have anything that you wanted to add to this bit.
I don't have anything to add just yet.
Cool.
Thank you. I answered a really great question in the chat from Drake. So
Fantastic.
If you have time after
Thank you.
completing this quiz, I would go check that out.
Cool. Sounds good. All right. So in the interest of time, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. You've probably got a good idea of what's going on, okay, of where you land, what feels. We're going to invite you to be in your fields today, ladies and gentlemen. You're thinking, oh my gosh, this is about business. I don't want to be in my fields. Well, we're going to challenge you to do so. Okay. Which, by the way, spoiler alert, that is you entering into a healthy feminine energy. Okay. Again, regardless of gender. We're going to jump into that a little bit more. So as you look at the screen, okay, all the words on the left are masculine energy, and all the words on the right are feminine energy. Again, not related to gender, okay? Because ultimately we have, and we're going to get into this in just a moment, all of us possess both wounded and healthy masculine and feminine energy within us. All right, what you see on the screen is some grounded understandings of both masculine and feminine energetics. So if you prefer your partner, I'll just give mine. I prefer my romantic partner to be receptive, spontaneous, listen, support, emotional. Yes, I want her, and she's on the screen. You see her. She's in pink, in case you didn't know. To be flexible, to be open, to be creative. That is who I prefer my partner, and Paige is. I prefer, for me, to be more giving, the planner, the speaker, the leader, more logical, more driven, more decisive, more measured. Now, does that mean that Paige never steps into her masculine energy, never gives? No. But I prefer, therefore, I know my core energy is, I want to be and am more masculine because I want my partner to be more feminine in her feminine energy. Okay. I'm going to pause here. I know I see Drake's on the call, and I'm going to call you out. I'm just going to call you out, Drake, because I like your name. Okay. What did you learn from this? Is this something new, something old, something you know? Kind of tell me your thoughts.
There was definitely a point in life where this was very foreign. I would say that everything you went over is stuff that I've started to learn in the last probably 6 months.
Mhm.
I think 6 months ago, masculine and feminine were just words to me that had no meaning.
Yeah, me too. Once upon a time. Yeah, me too. I thought it was directly connected to gender for sure. So we're going to move forward. So now that we understand, everybody that's live on the call has an understanding, okay, what my core energy is. Why is this important? It's important because you bring your core energy into the office or into your workplace every single day. It's unavoidable. Okay. So what does this mean for business? We're going to get there. We are going to get there.
I would like to pause. Does anyone have any questions about identifying their core energy? Like, is there any clarity that needs to be found in this particular exercise to help you determine your core energy? If so, we can help you walk through that. Drop it in the chat, come off of mute. But if it was pretty straightforward and you were able to identify what you want and therefore being able to identify the opposite pole of that, then we're good to go. Everyone's great. Awesome.
We're great. We're fantastic. All right. So let's move forward. So here we're going to identify, and all of our current clientele and those who are yet to be clients, perhaps, and everyone we touch through TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all of our social networks, they absolutely are enthralled with these next two slides because it provides them an understanding of what the difference between healthy and wounded feminine energy, and if I go over here to the masculine side, masculine energetics. Okay. Now, for those of you that are super curious and you'd like to write really, really quick, you probably can do this, and we would be open to have this come to you through Sierra. But it's important to understand. I'm not going to read through all of these, okay? You, again, can read for yourself. But what's important is to understand we bring both wounded and healthy, masculine and feminine energy into the workplace every single day. And so you may be seeing the screen right now and see the feminine energetics and go, on the wounded side, you may say, oh my goodness, this is what we experience at work. This is what I experience at home. And newsflash, okay, there is no work-home differential. Okay. What you seek and what you live and how you behave at home, you bring to the workplace. It is you. Okay. Now, we can, and I will be the first one to admit and confess that I have tried in my past to separate that, right? In fact, in our practice, we call that a mask, right? When we bring a certain veil to work, because we're trying to hide, we're trying to resist, we're trying to not allow that vulnerable side of who we are into the workplace. And how we work with our clients specifically, and Sarah will attest to this as well, is how can we be consistent throughout the entirety of our life, that we are the same person with our spouse, with our boss, with our team, with our colleagues, with everyone. But it's important to understand that these energetics are, in essence, allows us to become aware. So much of trauma healing through a polarized lens in which we engage, what Paige and I do every single day in helping folks understand true healing, is it begins with awareness. So in this case, if we are struggling on the wounded side in the feminine energy, we feel an enormous amount of shame. We feel powerless. We feel needy. We have levels of anxiety often. We're always seeking external validation. Okay. We're going to see who's vulnerable. Raise your hand if you've ever experienced any of this on the left side. Anyone? Come on now. Come on now. Thank you. Yeah, Paige and I's both hands are up. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Sierra, thank you. Drake, thank you. So the reality is to become aware, and that's what we help our clients and we help those who follow us really come to an understanding. Okay. So we have the feminine energetic, we have the masculine energetic of the wounded side and the healthy side. So what does this all mean as far as professional, as business, as bringing masculine and feminine energy into the workplace? So I've alluded to some of this on these next couple of slides, but I'm going to read from this bullet list. Every business, ladies and gentlemen, every business, every organization, by the way, every environment, anything that is made up of humans, right? And oftentimes we forget that our business, our workplace is made up of humans, but every business is made up of souls who all possess feminine and masculine energy, both wounded and healthy. Here's the good news. You, as the leader of your business or someone who is in your business, you can decide how your business will navigate and begin to heal the wounded energy culture. These words may be reigning true. These words that I'm about to read may be like, I see some of this in our culture. Gossip, manipulation, jealousy, codependency, attachment, distrust, power struggles, misaligned roles. These are all wounded energies that often find themselves in the workplace. And it all comes from wounded individuals. Okay? We talk about workplace culture all the time. Well, this is workplace culture. What type of culture do you possess? What do you have? Okay. And you have the autonomy in order to begin to navigate and to heal. I promise you do. And on the flip side, you can also decide how your business will celebrate and thrive in the healthy energy culture. Focus, confidence, wisdom, fluidity, stability, safety, curiosity. These are all healthy energetics that must be in a business in order for it to truly flourish. And when I say flourish, by the way, I don't necessarily mean the bottom line. What I will say, though, is if your business is aligned through a feminine and masculine polarity lens, all will rise. And it will sure feel good going into the office or going into the next room if you work from home, however the case may be. Okay. Anything, Paige? Good?
Great.
Furthermore, if you know and begin to embody your core energy, you'll be able to more effectively lead, facilitate, influence, inspire, receive, give, and identify otherworldly impact in your business operations, your team, and your clients. It's simple awareness. I am part of a group that is in the process of proposing to a multi-billion-dollar global company in which we will be going into this particular entity, this business, to bring this type of work where we are beginning to crash. And a lot goes to, and I will offer a congratulations and a thanks and a celebration of influencers such as Brene Brown, who have brought things like vulnerability into the workplace, right? And so we're following her footsteps in bringing the woo, to bring the emotion, to bring polarity, to bring the soft skills, to bring the awareness, right? The mental health, if you will, the emotional health into the workplace to help elevate business to levels unforeseen. When your business communication is polarized, and we're going to speak just a little bit on that, like there is a way to speak through a feminine and there is a way to speak through a masculine perspective. And we help our clients identify that all the time. There is a way in which the feminine speaks and receives, and a way in which the masculine speaks and receives that is more effective. So if you're having struggles, by the way, in communication within your team, in your business, there may be some valuable information coming, okay? Business communication is polarized. You will be more aligned in your client acquisition, deliverables, scaling, and revenue generation. Who's on board with that? Anyone? More in client acquisition, thank you. Yes, me too. When you are more polarized, according to your core energy, you will find more passion, peace, and purpose in your business and in your life. Okay. Raise your hand if you've ever been, you personally, have ever been in a misaligned role in your business. Anyone? I don't care if my first job, I'm going to pull the veil back here a little bit. My first job was at TCBY. Now, those that may know what TCBY, it stands for the country's best yogurt. It was a yogurt shop. I was 15. I was completely misaligned in that role, although I was just trying to make a buck and earn some money for my car insurance. Right. Now, I have been misaligned in other roles subsequently thereafter as an adult. But we know when something feels right, and we know when something doesn't. This is all related to your core energy. I promise you that. Okay. When a business is healthily aligned and harmonized in polarity, the business thrives. I've said that. Okay. All right. So when you make effective polarity in your business, and here are some keynotes that may seem like, huh? What? The most productive thing you'll ever do is rest. Yes. That is a feminine energetic. Okay. I know, and we're going to talk a little bit about our personal stories as far as our business and our relationship and whatnot here in just a little bit. But I know when Paige has been too far into her masculine energy during the workday, because I come home and she's sprawled along the couch, nothing left, right? And she knows, and she is brilliant in understanding and being connected and aligned with her body to know that throughout her day, she is taking those feminine rests. Now, rest may be a 10-minute nap, a walk outside. It may be any number of things. And Paige can certainly share a little bit of what she does during the day. And I think that would be powerful. If you're prepared to say something like that, Paige, right now, if you have something at the top of your head, if no, we can come back to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. The most productive thing you'll ever do is rest. It sounds so counterintuitive, and it really has changed the way that I show up in our business, and being able to restore my creativity and restore my energy and fill up my cup throughout the entire day in the forms of going for a walk or getting some fresh air or pressing my feet into the earth, grounding in that way, moving my body, taking some deep breaths, like taking a nap, one of my favorites. So the connecting to my feminine energy and injecting that into a very masculine day is absolutely what has helped me bring more alignment to not only my body, but also our business.
And let me make a point here too, is I was referring to Paige enacting into her feminine energy through the day. So do I. I make it a common practice throughout my day to step outside, to take a walk, to get sunshine, to get rejuvenation that way. There are times when I take 5 minutes or 3 minutes to journal. Okay, these are all ways, which, by the way, healing, emotional healing, ladies and gentlemen, is a feminine energetic. And that's okay. And by the way, this is why so many men like myself went years and years and decades not healing, because it doesn't naturally come to us. It feels weird. Like, heal? No, I'm good. Right? I'm good. I'm fine. What I've come to understand is I must be, as an individual, polarized, that I have healing my inner masculine wounding and my inner feminine wounding. We don't have the time and the space necessarily to get into that here in this particular container. But this is what we, by the way, this is what we do as individuals, Paige and David. We are consistently doing our own trauma healing work and understanding our wounded feminine and wounded masculine energies and finding and seeking ways through coaching and therapy ourselves. If not, we can't help our clients. And so we're consistently leaning into those practices ourselves so that we can help guide and teach and coach and inspire.
I want to add one thing. So the reason why it's so important for everyone to step into their feminine energy, it's the emotional body. And when the emotional body is overburdened with unprocessed experiences, whether it's been in the business, losing a client, not getting a client, feeling disgruntled on one of your calls or whatever, all of that is causing this emotional turbulence that is living within the body. And so that is depleting the energetic reserves that are living within you. So how well are you going to be able to show up on your next client calls? How well are you going to be able to show up in your marketing efforts later on throughout the day? So it's important to just take a few minutes and just kind of like process and release the dysregulation that happens throughout the day so that you can keep yourself energetically sound and grounded in your core energy as you navigate the rest of your day. That's why all of this is so important. And there's a reason why those moments were causing that were potentially feeling triggering to you. And it's because there's this thread, this link that connects to previous moments similar to that your nervous system has stored in the form of unprocessed trauma. That's how all of this links together, connecting trauma, connecting to the nervous system, connecting to your core energy. And how can we harmonize all of that to where you are grounded in self-leadership, you are grounded in awareness, and you are grounded in the wisdom to take care of yourself to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said, honey. Beautifully said. Yeah. Next, it says you'll be aligned to make decisions through your healthy masculine, or be creative through your healthy feminine, and know and feel when it's best to do or be either. Why is it important to understand decisiveness? Decisions are a masculine energy. Creativity is a feminine energy. And most of you, if not all of you, know that both of those energetics are imperative in your business. We have creativity and we have decisiveness, and they must both be in place. And so the more that you know your core energy and what you bring to the table, right, is going to help align your business and move it forward. You'll know when it's best to pursue client acquisition or invest in rejuvenation. Both are critical. Okay. You'll know when the best to leverage feminine communication. By the way, the feminine communicates with I feel statements. I feel tired. I feel energized. I feel exhilarated. I feel frustrated. Okay. The core feminine communication is through emotion. Okay. The counter to that is you'll know when it's best to leverage masculine communication because it's decisive, because it's directive. We will move this project forward. We will set a standard for how we behave, for what we do in our business. We will have a matrix for our sales process. We will have a script for our sales process. How masculine is that, right? And by the way, a script that then infuses feminine flow is the perfect way to sell. Right? Do you see what happened there? Right? It's nice to have a framework. Again, the masculine provides a container, the solidity. The feminine provides fluidity, creativity, ideation, emotion, feeling, connectivity. We must have both, and we must know where our core energy lies so that we can be properly aligned in our business. And you'll release the myth that grind and hustle make or break a business. By the way, hustle and grind is a wounded masculine energy. Okay. And I understand as a dude, as a man in business, okay, I understand that it's really, quote, sexy, right? To grind and hustle and work 20 hours. Okay. The reality is it's unhealthy. And that is a wounded feminine energetic, an unhealed wound from unprocessed, unknown, unreleased trauma from your past, which, by the way, again, this is not necessarily this particular workshop, but trauma primarily enters into the body during childhood, between the ages of 0 and 18. Because at that time, our body, our nervous system is susceptible. Okay? It's, quote, innocent. And so often the entrapped trauma remains there until it's released. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Trauma remains in your body. It's not in your head. Okay, it's in your body. And until it's properly and healthily released, it will remain there forever. Okay? And essentially, this is what we help our clients do, is help them begin to release their trauma and then really understand what their core masculine and feminine energy is. Okay. All right.
Vic dropped a great question in the chat.
Let's go.
It says, could you explain how that is wounded masculine energy, the hustle and grind? So it might be helpful to return back to the masculine energetics slide where it shows the wounded. Yes. So to me, the hustle and grind definitely falls under being overly competitive. It can be a little possessive. It can be impulsive, controlling, overdoing, overthinking, manipulating, forceful, dominating. Do you see how like all of that is like, go, 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 grind, grind, grind. I got to have X, Y, and Z outcomes. I got to meet all of these different numbers. It's all coming from this wounded place that is attached to each of these different emotional disturbances, I guess. And so it's important to know too that you weren't born, if there's a bunch of things on the left side here, the wounded list that you're like, oh my gosh, like I resonate, I feel that I embody several of those, or many of those come forward in particular business projects, endeavors, etc. Know that you were not born that way. So you weren't born just wounded. You weren't born broken or messed up, are phrases that we hear a lot. There were moments and experiences along your life's path that have helped shape those particular behaviors in you. And so when we lean into this polarized way of healing trauma, that's when we begin to take a very honest look at yourself and understanding what lies beneath the behaviors. And understanding, where did this hustle and grind type of behavior come from? Why is it there? What has shaped this? What experiences in my life have helped me believe that this is the way I must be? Is it in order to feel successful or look successful or be successful? Is there something I have to prove to someone? And so that's where we begin to just tease this out a little bit, to understand like what feels like a wounded behavior and where do I feel like I've got some healthy, empowered behaviors too. And that the more honest you can get with yourself, the more honest you're going to be able to get with your business and with your clients. And so that's why this work is so important. And it was a really great question, Drake. Thank you for asking it.
Is that helpful, Drake? Does that provide some clarity? Okay. I'm going to bring forth, since we're here and we have a little bit of space here, there's a reason why there is a couple of terms on here that are highlighted. A prime masculine wounding is rejection, which, by the way, may mean why we hustle and grind, right? To avoid feeling rejected in our personal relationships, in our business. I have been through more sales trainings than I would like to say, right? And what's consistently said is you just got to get over the rejection. You just got to get over the fact that you're going to people please, which is a feminine wounding, by the way. What I've come to understand is that no one wants to be rejected, right? And the fact that if someone comes and says, oh, I don't mind rejection, that's wounded. That's wounding because they're bypassing or they're overriding the fact that they're not addressing a true root cause of what's behind that. Well, it's really important to understand that a deep, deep, deep drive for a masculine energy is to avoid rejection. And we'll almost go at any length to not feel the rejection. Okay. Any of this resonating with anyone? Yeah. And the opposite or the opposing, the healthy side of this is resiliency. So is someone going to tell you no in business? Of course. Of course, someone's going to tell you no. The difference between the wounded and remaining smothered in the wounded masculine in this particular case and moving over to the healthy side of the masculine energetic. Resiliency is say, you know what? They said no. Let's move forward. Let's understand. We have a tenet in our business, in our Daring Deeply coaching practice, one of our 10 commandments, as we say, guidelines of engagement, that is, seek the lesson, not the loss. Seek the lesson, not the loss. So we understand when someone tells us no, when we lose a contract, when we have a client bail, we learn. We go, I wonder what happened. What responsibility do I need to own? What responsibility do they need to own? And then we move forward through resiliency. And I will say, on a personal note here, do I have rejection in my day, in my business? Yes, Paige will tell you I do. We all do. But I will tell you what draws her closer to me. We're going to pull the veil back here a little bit. What draws Paige to me, draws her attraction to me, is when the rejection happens and then I can stand in my resiliency, in my healthy masculine energetic and move forward. Okay. One of the most, this is off script, go figure, one of the most unattractive things for a feminine woman to see is for her masculine partner to wallow in rejection. I see Sierra doing, I see Paige like, right. The masculine, this is not a course on masculinity. We have plenty of that we can certainly talk about. But the masculine, when you are in your masculine energy, in your business, ladies and gentlemen, resiliency is key. Okay. Resiliency is key. Because again, it's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's when the rejection comes. Okay. All right. Anything else? Paige, to add on to that? No.
Not on that slide. I would love to see the feminine energetic slide to see if anything jumps out at me on that. Yeah, to point out the highlighted words on this particular slide. So the wounded energetic of the feminine is overwhelmed, burnout, stressed out. And a lot of that comes hand in hand with the anxiousness and having this fear and worry for the future. And it comes as a response of overdoing in the masculine. So see how like all the wounding just kind of like swirls together, like hand in hand. And on the other side of that, yeah, oversharing, overcoaching, yes, over anything is definitely a wounded feminine energetic. On the healthy side is when we can incorporate more of that restfulness as we go, so that the overwhelm and the exhaustion isn't stacking questions. Yes, exactly. Isn't an energetic that we are living in on consistently. I'm going to look at the chat here. Stacking questions, oversharing, overthinking. Yeah. Fantastic.
Codependency. Okay, I'll shut up. No, don't shut up, Greg. We love it. We love your voice, brother. Brother from another mother. Okay, so I want to have some clarification. Stacking questions, Jeff, what does that mean? If you can come off mute, or does somebody explain that to me? What does stacking questions mean?
It's asking one question, and then rather than allowing them to speak and answer and respond all automatically, you're asking another question, and then another question, and then another question. And I have been both on the giving and receiving side of that. And it has, as the receiver, it is so frustrating because I'm like, wait, which question do I answer first? And it also feels like a form of interruption. And then as I have been the question stacker, it is from a place of anxiousness. It is from a place of me not trusting in myself, me not being connected to my body, me not feeling confident in my interaction with this person. Does that help?
It does. Perfect. Yes. Yeah, I had another thought, but it's gone. Is there anything else that we missed? I do want to get back to, and we'll get there in just a second, but I did want to look like there was a couple of questions that Drake had at the top that I wanted to make sure that we address, or maybe you answered them. I'm not sure. But, okay. Right. So since we're here and it's so organic, how fluid will we be? We don't have to follow a set sequence. Are there other questions that are coming to us live here? Because we're nearing the end of our content, and I want to make sure we do have a few things that we want to share with you. Any questions in the chat, or you could come off of mute? Okay. Yeah, Drake, go ahead.
I was wondering if you could touch a little bit on like embracing your non-dominant pole. Something that I've been running into in the last 6 months or so is I think I tend to more naturally lean into the feminine. and for the sake of my relationship and my business, embracing more of the masculine. So I guess how does one do that in a healthy manner? What does that look like?
Fantastic question. Yeah. Paige, do you want to jump in? Do you want me to?
I will follow your lead on this one.
Fantastic. I can relate, Drake. I'll say the first thing is I can completely relate. In fact, most of my adult life, most of my life, I spent in my feminine energy. Because I felt like, or I was told, or it was reinforced that that was what, to be honest, that's what women wanted. They wanted a nice guy. They wanted a guy who wasn't an a-hole. Can we cuss on this here? I don't know. Yeah, okay, we can cuss. Yeah, okay. You didn't want an asshole, I'll just say, because I like to cuss. Who was a nice guy, who would step forward, who would take care, cater to her, to be kind, to be nice, you know, all of these things. Because I would hear all the horror stories. I would hear all the a-hole stories. And so then I countered that with, oh, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be the perfect partner. I'm going to cater to her and save her and do all these things. And if you even notice my body language as I'm doing that, right? It is a very feminine representation. And it wasn't until I began to discover what powerful, strong, dominant, not toxic, which, by the way, we don't adhere to the term toxic masculinity here in our coaching practice. We refer only to it as wounded masculine, because it is, just like you see on the screen. Here's the masculine. So long before Me Too happened, right? I was like, I don't understand why guys are such expletive. I just don't understand how they can treat women that certain way. What I was doing, well, though, I was wallowing, honestly, in wounded feminine energy. Now that has a whole case study and a lot of root cause behind it. The short story to that is I lost my mother when I was 2 weeks old. I never knew my mother. She died of post-op complications shortly after my birth. And so what I discovered through my own work and own healing and own trauma healing is that forever I was trying to save women, because I was trying to save who? My mother, who wasn't saved. And so that was a huge breakthrough for me, Drake, in knowing, wait a minute, why am I? And that's what we help our clients do. That's the first step, is to go, okay, there's a reason why I'm in my masculine energy more often than not. There's reasons. There are, the most important question I will ever ask a client is WHY. Why? Why are you in a relationship with that person? Why do you do that in business? Why do you talk to your spouse that way? Why do you go to work? I mean, you know, and a lot of time people aren't asked that question. I'll never forget, I was working with a client and I simply looked at her. She was struggling. She's an adult woman. She's in her 40s, struggling with her relationship with her mother. And I looked right back at her through the Zoom screen and I said, why do you want a relationship with her? And she looked back at me like I had 3 heads. Like, you don't have to have a relationship with anybody unless you want to, right? So what I discovered through all that was, wow, this doesn't feel aligned in my body. It doesn't feel aligned in my head. And when I began to step forward in my dominant, powerful, strong, masculine, devoted masculine, all these are terms of the masculine, and then working with Paige personally and professionally, things went from here to here. And that's when our relationship, and that's when our business took in a dramatic, more aligned, more elevated turn, was when I began to look at the right side of this particular screen that you see and say, you know what, it feels really good to be decisive. Because I was always the guy who was like, whatever you want, honey. Yeah, that's the one of, by the way, that's one of the most unattractive things a woman will ever hear. Wherever you want to go, babe. Where do you want to go to dinner? I don't care. You decide. So ultimately, and just another side note, a feminine woman wants her partner to decide, not to be perfect, but to decide. So it's when I began to step into these energetics, Drake. And it was scary. I'll be the first one to tell you, because I'm like, can I say that? And then she's going to receive it. Can I say that in business and actually, quote, get away with it? Because it was also, we live in a post hashtag, Me Too generation, to where I was like, oh my gosh, can I be dominant? Can I be forceful? Can I be strong? And so I had to work through all that wounding myself too. Paige, you want to kind of come at it as you coming from in your masculine? Is that how?
Yeah. So when David and I first met, I was very stuck and dominant in my masculine energy, and he, as he's mentioned, was more in his feminine, right? So this can work. Opposites attract still, but this is what we call inverted polarity. Inverted polarity. But neither one of us are connected to our core energy, meaning that we're feeling misaligned. I was functioning from my masculine energy out of protection, out of survival, out of have to. And he was living from the same protection, didn't want to be rejected. And so as we began to come aware of our core energies at that time, which was just a couple short years ago, we began to polarize not only our relationship, but it began to bleed and spread into our business. So then we were taking on different tasks and swapping tasks and eliminating tasks, and you do this and this is for me. And we began to adjust to what felt most aligned with our core energy. It's completely changed everything, to be honest. It has completely changed everything. Like, I feel more relaxed than I've ever been in my life. And I feel like I'm under more stress. Like, I am in a more stressful atmosphere running a small business and taking care of clients. But it does not feel like the stress that I experienced when I was forcing my way through life from my masculine, if that makes sense. So that's all I have for right now.
Yeah. Is that helpful, Drake?
Yeah, it is. It's very helpful. So how do you recommend going through a process, like a similar process to that? Because I think that's what I'm going through in my relationship, both personally and professionally.
Mm-hmm.
Or trying to navigate anyway. Maybe not going through, but trying to navigate.
Sure. Yeah, the first thing I'll say about that is that when we were introduced to this work by a coach, by a mentor, and then began our own work, it's super important to understand it takes what we call co-regulation, working with someone. So do we do our own trauma work? Yes, we do. But we are also under the tutelage and the guidance and the mentorship and the coaching and the professional of those helping us, because as we say, there are what we call blind spots, unforeseen spaces and places in who we are that we can't see, or we choose not to see. And so, having folks for our clients, that's my job. My job is to help them identify blind spots, those aha moments, as Oprah Winfrey says, right? To help navigate through this process. And we take our clients through a very specific, many different modalities, healing modalities, two of which are IFS, which is internal family systems, and polyvagal theory, among others. But we take our clients through a very specific process. And when I say specific, by the way, it's incredibly fluid. People are like, oh, can you heal my trauma in 6 months? No. Okay. This is really a lifelong journey. And that doesn't mean, oh, it's so stagnant and so arduous. And so, no, it's not. But we have to, quote, understand and receive and love our trauma first, which can be really creepy and scary. Like, wait a minute, I don't want to go back and re-traumatize myself, which, by the way, you can't. That's impossible. You can't be re-traumatized. But we must go through it, and we must go with it. So that's what we teach our clients to understand, is we must love what happened. And I'm not saying love the actual trauma. I'm saying love the part of us that was traumatized. And so that's the process in which we take our clients. We could certainly have an offline conversation about that, Drake, if you're interested. So,
and it's really important too.
Thank you so much.
Oh, this is why polarity and trauma must go hand in hand, trauma healing. It's because if you're just trying to embody the healthy energetics of both the masculine and feminine and trying to force yourself into those particular boxes without it simply becomes another form of override and bypassing. Because if you're just trying to feel secure in self, or you're just trying to hold space and you're just trying to be focused and be confident and be logical, but keep falling off for some reason, right? We're on that hamster wheel, kind of like the New Year's resolutions, like, all right, yeah, I'm super excited about diet and making all these changes, but then everyone falls off around February 14th, excuse me. It's like there's something there that we are blind to right now. There's something there that is blocking us from being able to fully embody the healthy energetics in a way that has allowed us to release what has kept us stuck. It's really important to have that honesty and awareness. Otherwise, we're just simply trying to override everything that's holding us back. And it doesn't really work like that if you're looking for lasting change, which is why most people don't do this work. This is why most people don't get into running their own business, because it's really hard and it challenges you to look at yourself in much deeper ways. And that is what is going to drive your long-term results and your long-term success in that way. If you're just practicing polarity, again, embodying those healthy aspects, like it's just becomes another trauma bond. Like it is just another form of trauma with it, because you're not actually getting to the root of it. That's where the trauma healing comes in. There's a reason why you are the way that you are and why you make the decisions that you make. There's a reason behind all of it. And it's important to quest for those answers and be gentle with yourself as you go, and know that, just like David said, this isn't going to happen overnight. This isn't just like a light switch you flick on and off. It's more like a dimmer switch. So over time, we're like growing awareness, we're understanding the wounded behaviors while also beginning to slowly dial up the switch on all of these more healthy, empowered, conscious, aware energetics. Does that make sense?
Yes, that actually brings a lot of clarity to how things have been transpiring over the last 6 to 12 months.
Are you open to sharing more?
Yeah. Me and my partner went through some pretty intense, maybe intense isn't the best word, but we did a lot of trauma healing in 2021, and in 2022 we started to see things in the relationship start to I guess kind of crumble a little bit, and maybe more than a little bit if I'm being honest. But I think what I'm realizing now is that with the trauma healing, it sounds like maybe the dynamic that we've been living in pre-healing started to crumble, and we started naturally getting pulled more into like the need to invert our polarities, like our needs as individuals were changing, and that we just need to stop fighting the inversion and lean into it, because as we have, things have been getting better.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Drake.
Yeah,
thank you for sharing so vulnerably. And your story, and you know this, or maybe you don't, but let me tell you, as we engage in this work every single day, your story is incredibly common, and your story is incredibly unique at the same time, right? So yeah, everyone struggles in this space, everyone. And by the way, I haven't said this on this particular workshop, but every single person that's on this call and every single person on this planet has unprocessed, unknown trauma. Every one of us has trauma. Every one of us. It's just true. So when people are like, no, I'm good, I don't have trauma. Yeah, you do. Love you. And yeah, you do. And that's okay. What's not okay is to remain languishing and then wondering why, and try and bypass strategies and overriding strategies and all the things that Paige was referring to. And that's why what we do is we help people release and to understand and become aware. Because as Paige said, there's a reason, there's a root cause behind every freaking behavior, every one. So, and it's all rooted in unprocessed, unreleased trauma. So,
yes.
Thank you, Drake, for
thank you for sharing.
Yes, thank you guys.
You're welcome.
And I know we have just a couple of minutes left.
We do.
And I believe our final slide.
Yeah, in just a second. So we've kind of been talking about this. This is just a slice of David and Paige. And so we get this question quite often. How do you two work together? Drake was even saying, and I saw, oh, that's what I was going to say. In the chat, Jolene jumped in late and she says, wow, I came in late and this is so good, especially for couples wanting to go into business together. I struggle with this and because it thinks it's all energy misalignment. Yeah. So we get this question quite often. Thank you, Jolene, for sharing. Thanks for being here. How do you two work together? We've often heard this, like, oh, couples, don't ever work with your spouse, right? And actually, we kind of bypassed that in a healthy way and said, no, we're going to try this. But again, it wasn't until we realized polarity in its true aligned sense. And so this just kind of gives you a split, some photos of us traveling, working together. And it is a challenge. On a personal note, we have to have specific boundaries within our relationship. And we've often even said, are we talking about business now or are we talking personal? And set those boundaries. It's super important because yes, sometimes our pillow talk consists of client acquisition. And then we have to turn it off and, get back to the pillow talk, so to speak. All right. So, and then our final slide. Whoops. We had questions. Here we go. And so I'm sure Sierra was like, so how can they get a hold of you? This is how you connect with David and Paige, by the way, those of you here. We are all over the socials, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to connect, if you want to see countless, to be honest with you, countless content all over, most especially TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, please come and stalk us. We always say that. Please come stalk us. Let's cut the crap. You're going to come and stalk us. We love that. We want you to come and experience and get a taste a little bit more of who David and Paige are with Daring Deeply. If you're interested in wanting to connect with us and find more out about our one-on-one coaching, our courses, masterclasses, speaking, engagement, consulting, you can send an email to info@daring-deeply.com or just send us a message through many of our social network outlets. So you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Daring Deeply Coaching, at Paige Stewart _. And we're more than happy to have offline conversations if you're interested in more, maybe bringing polarity into the workplace or more on a personal level, as Drake was so vulnerably sharing earlier today. We're happy to have that conversation and see what would be potentially a good fit in working with us. So, Paige, anything else you want to?
I am catching up on the chat here. I got a couple messages. Sierra says she will allow answering my husband's question. So Benjamin put in the chat, he says, at my daughter's gymnastics class, so connecting remotely and not able to jump on camera, is having rigid black and white standards of excellence and self-discipline a wounded energy thing? Example, I mentally define someone saying they're not going to message me back or do something and not doing it as them not having personal integrity and subsequently not wanting to interact with them. It's a good question.
I'm reading it too. I promise I'm not just
not wanting to interact with him.
Not able to. It is having rigid black and white standards of excellence and self-discipline and wounded energy. Yeah. Benjamin, what I will say is, of course, energetically, questions like this come when I have just spoken on this particular topic today in another forum. I have the most recent TikTok video where I was speaking. I had a woman ask me, how do I raise a feminine daughter? How do I raise a daughter who I want her to be in her authentic feminine energy? And what I touched on was this idea of black and white and performance and matrix and education and do and perfect tens and A's and B's and D's. Strict rigidity is a trauma response for sure. Perfectionism. Okay. Anyone ever talk about perfection or claim to be a perfectionist or ever be in that space? Okay. That is a direct trauma response. It is a wounded masculine energy. To procrastinate, it's related to perfectionism. Okay. And it is a wounded energy. Okay. To enter into a healthy feminine dynamic into that is ultimately what we need to do, to have the flow and be like, you know what? I didn't get an A today. That's okay. It doesn't define me. Right. It certainly shapes me, but it doesn't define me. And so to get away from this rigidity is really, really important. And that's all part of the trauma healing.
Mm-hmm. And to me, I read it kind of as one strike and you're out. And
Right.
that feels like such a hard standard to hold others to. And truly it's a direct reflection of the standard that you hold yourself to. And so it doesn't sound like there's a lot of grace or there's a lot of forgiveness in there for you. And so that's kind of where I would consider the exploration to begin, with understanding more about that particular behavior with others.
All right, I know we're up against time, Sierra. I know you've got other folks jumping in here. Yeah, I hope that was a good answer, or at least an impactful answer, Benjamin. If we can always talk
He says,
offline
thank
too.
you for taking the time to respond to my question. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Our pleasure.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys
Yeah,
so much.
thank you, Sierra.
This has been fun.
Thank you
and
all.
Sierra,
Mhm.
thank you again for inviting us to be here.
Absolutely. And Drake, it's both. They have both. They have business related and they have personal. I approached them because of wanting to excel in my business. I always hire mindset coaches, and that's originally why I hired them. And then they're like, we're relationship and life coaches. And I was like, oh, okay. But I'm still like, this is still mindset work. So, I mean, it goes much deeper than that. But that was originally why I hired them this last year. And it's been amazing to work with them. So thank you guys so much for coming on here.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Likewise.
Yeah, find us on the socials, send us a message, and we can certainly connect and get on a call to see what would be a great fit. So I just saw Jolene Oosthuizen. That's how she pronounces her last name. That's so cool. That's a famous golfer. I'm wondering if there's, anyway, time to get off the phone.
Awesome. Awesome. So again, you guys, this session is going to be loaded up into the VIP portal. So you guys will get access to this on the replay. Any of our speakers and anyone, just on a side note, any of our speakers have access to VIP. So you guys are welcome to be a part of any of the stuff that's coming up in the next few days or today. You guys are welcome to access any of it. So just throwing that out there in case you guys missed it. We've had a few technical difficulties with our different platforms and stuff like that. We're trying to get all of our tech stuff in place. And so like we're getting